Oh, David, you always get so excited about this stuff. And I know why, because it truly is. It's a cornerstone, isn't it? I mean, when people hear testosterone, they often just think muscle or aggression, but it's so much more than that. It's bone density, it's mood, it's energy, it's vigor, as you often say. It's everything.
Exactly. And that's what I want to unpack today, because, we've seen this kind of quiet epidemic of declining testosterone levels in men over the past few decades. And it's not just about like, oh, I can't lift as much. It's about quality of life. It's about cognitive function. It's about, just feeling good in your own skin. And what I find fascinating is how many everyday habits, things we just take for granted, are actually like actively working against our body's natural production of this vital hormone.
Right. And it's not just for men either, David. I mean, obviously it's the primary male sex hormone, but women also produce testosterone, albeit in much smaller amounts. And it's crucial for our energy, our libido, our bone health too. So while we're focusing on the male perspective today, a lot of these principles, they really apply across the board for general hormonal balance. But let's dive into the big ones. Where do you want to start? Because I know you have a list a mile long of things that just get under your skin when people ignore them.
Oh my gosh, Emily, you know me so well. I mean, where do we start? I think the absolute foundational, non-negotiable, like if you're not doing this, everything else is just building on sand, is sleep. Sleep. I cannot emphasize this enough. We live in this culture that almost glorifies sleep deprivation. Like, oh, I'll sleep when I'm dead, or I only need 4 hours. And it's just so detrimental. The body, especially for men, releases the majority of its daily testosterone during sleep. So if you're shortchanging your sleep, you're literally shortchanging your testosterone production.
That's actually mind-blowing when you think about it that way. Like, you're actively sabotaging yourself before you even get out of bed. And I remember that 2011 study you often cite with those young, healthy men, where just a week of sleep deprivation, I think it was 5 hours a night, led to a significant drop in their testosterone levels. And these were young guys. So it's not just an old man's problem, is it?
No, not at all. And that's the thing, Emily. It's not just about the quantity. Those 7 to 9 hours is the gold standard, for most adults. It's also about the quality. Are you getting deep restorative sleep? Are you waking up feeling refreshed? Because if you're not, your body's not just missing out on that prime testosterone synthesis window, but it's also, it's elevating cortisol, the stress hormone, which we'll talk about later. But it's a direct antagonist to testosterone. It's like a seesaw, right? Cortisol goes up, testosterone goes down, and sleep deprivation is a huge driver of that cortisol spike.
So let me get this straight, David. It's not just about the direct production of testosterone during sleep, but also about managing other hormones that can suppress it. That's a really important distinction. And I think about, people who work shift jobs, or new parents, or even just those of us who are glued to our screens late at night. We're not just losing sleep, we're creating this whole cascade of hormonal imbalances. What are some practical things people can do beyond just go to bed earlier? Because sometimes that's easier said than done, right?
Oh, absolutely, Emily. And that's where the nuance comes in. It's not just about the clock. It's about, creating a sleep sanctuary. It's about like dimming the lights an hour or two before bed, avoiding screens, especially that blue light, which just messes with your melatonin production. It's about keeping your bedroom cool, dark, and quiet. And this is a big one, trying to go to bed and wake up around the same time every day, even on weekends. That consistency, it really helps regulate your circadian rhythm, which is, your body's internal clock, and that directly impacts hormone release. And for those who really struggle, maybe looking into things like magnesium supplementation, or even a weighted blanket or white noise, it's about optimizing that environment. And for some, if you suspect sleep apnea, that's a whole other ballgame, and you absolutely need to see a doctor, because that's a serious disruptor.
Right. And I think that's a great segue into our next point, because often when people are tired, they're less likely to do the next thing on our list, which is exercise. And I know you're a huge proponent of movement, David, but specifically for testosterone, what kind of exercise are we talking about? Because I think a lot of people think, oh, I just need to run a marathon, but that's not necessarily the case, is it?
No, not at all, Emily. In fact, excessive chronic endurance training can actually be detrimental to testosterone levels, especially if it's not balanced with proper nutrition and recovery. What we're really talking about here, the king of testosterone boosting, is resistance training, lifting weights, challenging your muscles. That 2007 study you mentioned, it showed men who did resistance training just 3 days a week for 4 weeks saw significant increases. And it's not about like becoming a bodybuilder, it's about stimulating those muscle fibers, sending signals to your body to produce more testosterone for repair and growth. And it's incredible how effective it is.
So we're talking about compound movements, right? Like squats, deadlifts, bench presses, things that engage all muscle groups, not just like bicep curls all day long. And I think that's important for people to understand because it's about efficiency too. You get more bang for your buck, hormonally speaking, with those bigger movements. And you also mentioned the cognitive benefits, which I think is often overlooked. It's not just about the physical, is that?
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, the brain activity boost, the endorphins, the serotonin, the dopamine release, it's a whole body, whole mind benefit. When you're exercising, you're not just building muscle, you're building resilience, you're improving mood, you're reducing stress, which again directly impacts cortisol and therefore testosterone. It's this beautiful feedback loop. And for people who are like, oh, I don't have time for the gym, I mean, even body weight exercises, push-ups, squats, lunges, planks, consistency trumps intensity, especially when you're starting out. Just get moving. Break up those long periods of sitting. That's a huge one too. Our bodies are designed to move, not to be like glued to a chair all day.
I know, right? The pandemic really highlighted that for so many of us, myself included. I found myself sitting way more than I ever had before, and it's a conscious effort to break that cycle. But let's shift gears a little bit, because you can't talk about hormones and fitness without talking about diet. And specifically, you mentioned carbs, which I think is a really interesting one because carbs often get a bad rap, don't they?
Oh, they do. And it's such a shame because, carbs are not the enemy. Refined carbs are the enemy. That's the distinction we need to make. A diet that's too low in healthy carbohydrates can actually suppress testosterone. Your body needs glucose for energy, and if it's not getting it from good sources, it can start to signal stress, which again, cortisol. But when we're talking about refined carbs, the white bread, the pastries, the sugary drinks, the processed snacks, those things, they cause rapid blood sugar spikes, insulin resistance, and that's just a recipe for disaster for your hormonal health, including testosterone. They lack fiber, they lack nutrients, they're just empty calories that wreak havoc.
So we're talking about whole grains, right? Like oats, quinoa, brown rice, sweet potatoes, all those complex carbohydrates that release energy slowly and provide fiber and nutrients. And I think that's a key point, because it's not about eliminating carbs, it's about choosing the right ones. And you mentioned the cortisol connection again, which is so fascinating. So a diet higher in healthy carbs can actually lower cortisol, which then in turn helps testosterone. It's all connected, isn't it?
It's all connected, Emily. It's this beautiful, intricate dance. And when you're eating those natural carbs, you're also getting fiber, which is so crucial for gut health. And gut health is increasingly being linked to hormonal balance. So it's not just about the direct impact on blood sugar, it's about the systemic effects. And for people who are like, oh, I'm trying to lose weight, so I'm cutting all carbs, that can actually be counterproductive in the long run for hormonal health. It's about balance, it's about quality, always.
Balance and quality, absolutely. And speaking of quality, let's talk about protein, because that's another one that's often misunderstood, or people just don't get enough of it. And you always say it's the building block for everything, including testosterone.
Oh, it is. Protein is just non-negotiable. I mean, it's the building block for your muscles, your organs, your skin, your hair, and yes, your hormones, including testosterone. If you're working out, if you're trying to build muscle, if you're trying to lose fat, you need adequate protein. It helps with satiety, it helps with muscle protein synthesis, and it helps your body shed fat, which, as we'll discuss, is a huge factor in testosterone levels. The average man is suggested to have around 56 grams a day, but if you're active, if you're lifting weights, you're probably going to need significantly more than that, like 0.7 to 1 gram per pound of body weight, depending on your goals. And it's so crucial.
Right. And I think that's where a lot of people fall short, especially if they're not consciously tracking their intake. They might think they're eating enough, but when you actually look at it, it's often not. And it's not just about like a big steak, is it? It's about diverse sources, lean meats, poultry, fish, eggs, dairy, but also plant-based proteins like legumes, nuts, seeds, tofu. It's about getting a variety to ensure you're getting all those essential amino acids.
Absolutely, Emily. And for our vegan or vegetarian listeners, it's even more important to be mindful of protein combining and ensuring you're getting a complete amino acid profile. But the bottom line is, if you're not fueling your body with enough protein, you're not giving it the raw materials it needs to produce testosterone efficiently, and you're also making it harder to build and maintain muscle, which again, is a huge driver of testosterone production. It's all interconnected.
It really is. And that leads us perfectly into nutrient deficiencies because it's not just about the macros, is it? It's about the micros too. And you always highlight zinc as a critical one.
Oh, zinc. Zinc is just fascinating. It's an essential mineral, and it's involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions in the body. I mean, it's crucial for immune function, for protein synthesis, for DNA, and yes, for testosterone production. Zinc plays a direct role in the regulation of the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis, which is, the master control system for hormone production. It's also involved in inhibiting the aromatase enzyme, which converts testosterone into estrogen. So if you're deficient in zinc, you're not only potentially producing less testosterone, but you might also be converting more of it into estrogen, which is just a double whammy. And it's surprisingly common to be zinc deficient, especially with modern farming practices depleting soil nutrients.
Wait, hold on, David. Are you saying that zinc helps prevent testosterone from turning into estrogen? That's actually mind-blowing. So it's not just about making more, it's about preserving what you have. That's a huge insight. And what are some other key micronutrients that people should be aware of beyond just zinc?
Absolutely, Emily. I mean, zinc is a superstar, but we also need to talk about vitamin D. It's technically a hormone, and it's absolutely critical for testosterone synthesis. Studies have shown a direct correlation between vitamin D levels and testosterone. Magnesium is another one. It's involved in hundreds of bodily processes, including muscle function and energy production, and it helps free up testosterone from binding protein, making it more bioavailable. Boron, even selenium, these are all tiny players that have a huge impact, and the best way to get them, of course, is through a diverse whole food diet, lots of colorful vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, lean proteins. But for some, especially with vitamin Z, supplementation might be necessary, especially in northern climates or if you're not getting enough sun exposure. But always consult with the doctor before starting any new supplements, to make sure it's right for you.
That's such important advice, David, and it really highlights how interconnected everything is. You can't just focus on one thing. But let's move to one that I think people might find a little bit surprising, but you've always been a big proponent of it, and that's positive thinking. How does your mindset actually affect your testosterone levels?
Oh, Emily, this is one of my favorites. I know it sounds like a little woo-woo to some people, but the science is just undeniable. Remember we talked about cortisol, the stress hormone? Well, negative thinking, chronic worry, a lack of confidence, these things, they just keep your cortisol levels elevated. And when cortisol is high, testosterone is low. It's that seesaw again. But when you cultivate a positive mindset, when you feel confident, when you believe in yourself, you actually reduce cortisol and promote the release of serotonin, which is, our feel-good hormone. And that in turn creates a more favorable environment for testosterone production. That 2018 rowing study where the men just believed they had won and their confidence in testosterone went up, that's just incredible, isn't it? It shows the power of the mind-body connection.
That's actually mind-blowing, David. So it's not just about fake it till you make it. It's about the physiological changes that happen when you genuinely feel confident. And I think in today's world, with all the social media comparison and the constant negativity, it's harder than ever to maintain that positive mindset. So what are some practical ways people can actually cultivate this confidence and positive thinking beyond just think happy thoughts?
Well, Emily, it's not about ignoring reality or being blindly optimistic. It's about focusing on what you can control. It's about setting small achievable goals and celebrating those wins. It's about practicing gratitude, journaling, meditating, spending time in nature. It's about surrounding yourself with positive people who lift you up, not drag you down. And honestly, it's about taking action. When you start exercising, when you start eating better, when you start sleeping more, you naturally feel better about yourself, and that confidence just builds organically. It's a virtuous cycle. And for some, if you're really struggling with chronic negative thought patterns, seeking professional help like cognitive behavioral therapy can be incredibly effective.
That's such a holistic approach, David, and I love that you bring it back to the other pillars of health. It's all intertwined. But let's talk about something that's a bit more of a social habit for many people, and that's alcohol. Because I know a lot of us enjoy a drink or two, but you've often warned about its impact on testosterone.
Oh, Emily, alcohol is just a tricky one, isn't it? Because, in moderation, it can be part of a social life, but excessive alcohol consumption, it's a direct hit to your testosterone. Your liver, which is, responsible for metabolizing hormones, it gets completely overwhelmed trying to process the alcohol, and that diverts resources away from testosterone production. production. Plus, alcohol is directly toxic to the Leydig cells in the testes, which are the primary producers of testosterone. And that 2019 study where heavy drinkers saw a nearly 20% drop in just 1 month, that's significant. Even moderate drinking over time can have an impact. And let's not forget the beer belly phenomenon. That extra fat, especially around the middle, it contains an enzyme called aromatase, which converts testosterone into estrogen. So you're not only producing less, but you're also converting what you have into the female hormone. It's just a lose-lose situation.
Wow, so it's a multi-pronged attack on testosterone. It's affecting production, it's affecting conversion, and it's affecting the organs responsible for it. That's pretty sobering, no pun intended. So what's the actionable advice here, David? Is it complete abstinence, or is there a middle ground for people who enjoy a drink?
Well, Emily, I'm not going to tell everyone to become a teetotaler, But if you're experiencing symptoms of low testosterone, or if you're trying to optimize your health, taking a critical look at your drinking habits is absolutely essential. Try cutting back for a month, or even just like limiting yourself to 1 or 2 drinks on social occasions and see how you feel. Notice the difference in your energy, your sleep, your mood. And for some, if it's a chronic issue, seeking support for alcohol reduction is paramount. There are so many fantastic non-alcoholic alternatives now too that can help you still feel part of the social scene without the negative hormonal impact. It's about mindful consumption,
Mindful consumption, I like that. And that actually ties into our next point, which is stress. Because often people drink to de-stress, but it sounds like that's just adding fuel to the fire, hormonally speaking.
Oh, absolutely. Stress is just the silent killer of testosterone. We've touched on cortisol a few times, and this is where it really, really comes to play. When you're under chronic stress, your body is constantly pumping out cortisol. It's an evolutionary response, right? Our ancestors faced acute stressors, a saber-toothed tiger, a rival tribe, and their bodies would flood with cortisol for fight or flight. But today, we're dealing with chronic low-level stress. Work debt, financial, social media, traffic, the news cycle. Our bodies are constantly in this low-grade fight or flight mode, and that sustained cortisol elevation just crushes testosterone. It's that seesaw, but it's stuck on the high cortisol side. And that 2014 study showing men in high-stress jobs with lower testosterone, especially when they felt a lack of control, that's so telling.
That's so true. The feeling of lack of control, I think, is a huge component of modern stress. We're constantly bombarded with things we can't control, and that just keeps that cortisol pump going. So what are some effective, practical strategies for managing stress, especially when it feels like the world is just throwing everything at you?
Well, Emily, it's about finding what works for you, because stress management is so personal. But some universal truths: mindfulness meditation, even just 5 or 10 minutes a day, can significantly reduce cortisol. Deep breathing exercises, just taking a few slow deep breaths when you feel overwhelmed. Spending time in nature, forest bathing as they call it, has been shown to lower stress hormones. Exercise, again, is a fantastic stress reliever. Hobbies, creative outlets, spending time with loved ones, setting boundaries, especially with work and technology. Actually turning off notifications, putting your phone away for periods of time. These aren't like nice to haves, they're essential for hormonal health. And for some, if stress is really debilitating, therapy like CBT, or even just talking to a trusted friend or family member, can make a huge difference. It's about actively managing that stress load, not just letting it wash over you.
Actively managing, I love that. It's about taking agency. And that leads us to another really common issue, which is carrying extra weight. And you've already touched on it a little bit with the alcohol, but let's really dive into how body fat specifically impacts testosterone.
Oh, Emily, this is a huge one, and it's a vicious cycle. Fat cells, especially those visceral fat cells around your belly, they're not just like inert storage depots. They're metabolically active. They contain that enzyme I mentioned, aromatase, which converts testosterone into estrogen. So the more fat you have, the more aromatase you have, and the more of your precious testosterone gets converted into estrogen. It's just a terrible feedback loop. Low testosterone makes you fat, and more fat leads to even lower testosterone. It's a downward spiral. And that 2012 study showing that losing just 10% of body weight increased testosterone by 50 points, that's a massive boost from a relatively modest weight loss. It just shows the power of addressing body composition.
That's incredible, David. So it's not just about the number on the scale, it's about the composition of your body. And it sounds like the same strategies we've been talking about: better sleep, exercise, healthy diet, they all contribute to weight loss, which then in turn boosts boosts testosterone. So it's a win-win-win situation, really.
It is. It's all interconnected. And for people who are like, oh, I've tried everything to lose weight, sometimes addressing the underlying hormonal imbalances, like low testosterone, can actually make weight loss easier. It's not just about willpower. It's about creating a body that's hormonally optimized to burn fat and build muscle. And resistance training, again, is so crucial here because muscle is metabolically active. It burns more calories at rest, and it helps improve insulin sensitivity, which is another huge factor in fat storage and hormonal health.
Right. And I think that's a really important point for people to understand. It's not just about calories in, calories out. It's about the hormonal environment you're creating. But let's talk about something that's a bit more out of people's direct control, and that's certain medications, because sometimes people are taking things for very valid reasons, but they might not realize the impact it's having on their testosterone.
Oh, Emily, this is a critical one, and it's often overlooked. Many common medications can inadvertently suppress testosterone. We're talking about things like opioid pain medications, some antidepressants, certain blood pressure medications, even steroids like prednisone, and some heartburn and ulcer medications. These drugs, they can interfere with the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis, or they can directly affect the testes, or they can increase the conversion of testosterone to estrogen. And the thing is, these medications are often essential for people's health, so I'm not saying stop taking them. But if you're on any of these and you're experiencing symptoms of low testosterone, it's absolutely crucial to have an open, honest conversation with your doctor. Sometimes a simple dosage adjustment or switching to an alternative medication can make a world of difference without compromising your primary health condition.
That's such important advice, David. Never stop prescribed medication without consulting your doctor. But it's about being an informed patient, isn't it? It's about asking those questions and understanding the potential side effects. And I think that's a really powerful message. But let's move to something that's even broader, and that's environmental factors, because I think a lot of people don't realize that the world around us can actually be impacting our hormones.
Oh, Emily, this is a huge area, and it's frankly a little bit scary. We're talking about endocrine disruptors. These are chemicals found in plastics, pesticides, personal care products, even flame retardants in our furniture. They can mimic or interfere with our body's natural hormones, including testosterone. BPA in plastic containers, phthalates in cosmetics and fragrances, pesticides on non-organic produce. These are all xenoestrogens, meaning they act like estrogen in the body, and they can directly suppress testosterone production or increase its conversion to estrogen. That 2018 study showing men with higher levels of these chemicals having lower testosterone, it's wake-up call. We're living in a chemical soup, and it's impacting our hormonal health.
That's actually terrifying, David. So it's not just about what we put in our bodies, but what our bodies are exposed to asterisk from the environment. So what can people do? Because it feels like it's almost impossible to avoid these things entirely in modern life.
It's true, Emily. You can't live in a bubble, but you can significantly reduce your exposure. Use glass or stainless steel containers instead of plastic, especially for heating food. Choose organic produce when possible, or at least wash your fruits and vegetables thoroughly. Look for personal care products labeled phthalate-free or BPA-free. Filter your tap water. Avoid non-stick cookware that contains PFAS. It's about making conscious choices, being an informed consumer, and supporting companies and policies that advocate for cleaner products and a healthier environment. It's a long game, but every little bit helps to reduce that cumulative toxic load on your body.
Every little bit helps, absolutely, and I think that's a really empowering message. But let's talk about something that's inevitable for all of us, and that's age, because testosterone levels naturally decline as we get older, don't they?
Oh, Emily, it's the cruel reality of time, isn't it? After age 30, men typically lose about 1% of their testosterone each year. By the time you hit 70, your levels could be half of what they were in your 20s. This is a natural physiological decline, often referred to as andropause, or sometimes male menopause. It's not like a sudden drop like female menopause, but a gradual, insidious decline. And it's due to a combination of factors: the Leydig cells in the testes becoming less efficient, the pituitary gland becoming less responsive, and an increase in sex hormone binding globulin, or SHBG, which binds to testosterone and makes it unavailable to the body. So you might have a decent total testosterone, but your free testosterone, the bioavailable form, could be very low.
So it's not just about the total number, it's about what's actually usable by the body. That's a really important distinction, and I think a lot of men just accept this decline as part of getting old, but it sounds like there's a lot we can do to mitigate those effects, even if we can't stop the clock entirely.
Absolutely, Emily. That's the key message here. While the decline is natural, the symptoms don't have to be debilitating. All the strategies we've discussed, better
better sleep, regular exercise, a healthy diet, stress management, avoiding toxins, these are all powerful tools to minimize the effects of age-related decline. They help optimize your body's natural production and utilization of testosterone. And for some men, especially those over 50 with significant symptoms and clinically low levels, testosterone replacement therapy or TRT can be an option, but it's not a magic bullet and it's not without risk, so it absolutely needs to be a thorough discussion with a knowledgeable doctor, weighing the pros and cons very carefully. It's a complex decision.
Right. And I think that's a really important caveat. It's not a first-line solution for everyone. It's about optimizing lifestyle first, and that actually brings us to our final point, which really ties everything together. And that's ignoring your overall health, because it's all connected, isn't it?
Oh, Emily, it's the grand finale, the overarching theme. Your body is just an incredibly interconnected system. Testosterone doesn't exist in isolation. Conditions like diabetes, heart disease, thyroid problems, even something as simple as chronic inflammation or a vitamin D deficiency, they all impact your testosterone levels. If your body is constantly fighting an underlying health issue, it's diverting resources away from optimal hormone production. It's like trying to run a marathon with a flat tire, you're just not going to perform at your best. So regular checkups, addressing health issues promptly, managing chronic conditions effectively, these are all crucial for maintaining healthy testosterone levels. It's preventative maintenance for your entire hormonal system.
That's such a perfect analogy, David, preventative maintenance. And it really underscores the importance of a holistic approach to health. You can't just cherry pick one thing. It's about looking at the whole picture. So if someone is listening and they're thinking, okay, I'm experiencing some of these symptoms, I'm worried about my testosterone, what's the very first most actionable step?
The very first step, Emily, is to get tested. Get your testosterone levels checked, specifically total and free testosterone, and also, get a full metabolic panel. Check your vitamin D, your zinc, your thyroid. Get a comprehensive picture of your overall health. And then start with the foundations. Prioritize sleep, incorporate resistance training, clean up your diet, manage your stress. These are the things that are within your control, and they have the biggest impact. And if you're still struggling, then work with a knowledgeable healthcare provider who understands hormonal health, not just like a general practitioner who might dismiss your concerns. It's about being your own health advocate.
Being your own health advocate, I love that. And it's so empowering. David, this has been such a comprehensive and really insightful discussion. I mean, we've covered everything from the obvious to the truly surprising factors affecting testosterone. And I think the biggest takeaway for me is just how interconnected everything is and how much agency we actually have over our own hormonal health through our daily choices.
Oh, Emily, it's just incredible, isn't it? The human body is just this magnificent machine, and when we give it the right fuel, the right rest, the right movement, the right mindset, it just thrives. And testosterone, it's such a vital part of that thriving, especially for men. So let's all commit to making those small, consistent changes that add up to huge benefits for our health and our vitality.
Absolutely, David, and thank you for always bringing such passion and such deep expertise to these conversations. It's truly inspiring. And to all our listeners, thank you for joining us on the Wellness Compass. We hope this conversation has sparked your interest and given you some actionable insights to take control of your hormonal health. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks, everyone. Stay healthy.